Hello, welcome to SETMIS Educative Data Validation Utility video tutorial. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate a data validation and submission that does not contain errors, and this means a successful SETMIS data validation and submission. Open Educative Utility and enter your username and password. Educative home screen will open next. On the menu bar at the top of this screen, the first menu item is Validate Submission. Click on it once. The Submit option pops down. Click Submit option once again. Submission to SETMIS QMR from CETA version 001 shows up. Click to open this option. On the screen, please type in your name, surname, and email address. After you've provided this information, click Next button. Otherwise, click Close button to return to the main menu screen. On the screen, please provide the submission date by using the embedded electronic calendar. What I'm about to do next is very important to take note and follow correctly. The date you are about to enter using the calendar must match the date that is reflected on the data extraction files in order to proceed with the validation and submission. Failure to insert the date that matches with the date as reflected on the data extraction files. Expect Educative to prompt an error message. Non-compliance to this rule, Educative will not proceed any further until correction implementation. Click Next button after entering the date or Previous button to go back to the contact details screen. Otherwise, click Close button to return to the main menu screen. On the screen, please indicate the data file extraction location. These are the data files extracted from your operational information system and imported to your operating system for validation and submission to DHET SSH servers. Educative will automatically display its default import location directory path. If you have opted to extract and import the data files directly to the default Educative storage location, namely the submission in directory, click Next button to proceed. Alternatively, if you have opted to import your data extraction files other than the Educative default storage, click the Search button to navigate manually to your preferred storage location. For demonstration purpose, I have opted for the option to navigate to my preferred directory location. After clicking the Search button, another screen displays next. Navigate to your preferred location by clicking the Look In drop-down menu. Please note that when you are navigating to the data file directory location, Educative application will not display the actual files you intend to validate and submit. Only the directory name will display. Next to the Look In drop-down menu, there is Back, Home, New Folder, Display option, and search buttons you can use to navigate to your preferred destination. The application directories are displayed in the middle of the screen. When you have located your directory, click Select button. Otherwise, click Cancel button to return to the Export location screen. This is another very important point to take note and follow correctly. When you conduct a data validation and submission, Educative expects to find the extracted files in the directory specified in the naming convention defined in the SETMIS QMR specification. That means you are not to change or rename the file names after you have extracted from your operational information system. Otherwise, Educative will not proceed. The system will prompt an error. Let us pause here for a moment to explain the meaning of the data file extraction naming convention. That is, the meaning of each segment inserted between the underscore characters in the file naming convention. Education and Training Quality Entity, ETQE, has a unique identifier that is comprised of exactly 4-letter characters. The South African Qualifications Authority, SAQA, issues these ETQE identifiers. A listing of these unique identifiers is documented in the specification for load files for the National Learners Record Database, which can be downloaded from their website. The number 0006 represents the 6th education and training related computer-based information system within the SETMIS data warehouse environment. The data recipient as found in the SETMIS MR file specification. The numbers 100, 200, etc. contains the provider and employer records respectively. These specific numbered files represents a numbering system in SETMIS that contains data sets from the source information system as feeder files to SETMIS database. Refer to section 5 of the SETMIS MR specification for more information. The alphanumeric string V001 represents the SETMIS database version, as described in the version 1.00 of the SETMIS MR file specification. The date represents the data file extraction date. The .dat is the data file extension. Educative application will display export location screen next. This screen contains the default export submission folder path. If you would like educative application to save the validation data submission to a location other than the default export location, click Search button and browse to the correct location. We now proceed. The Validate Submission screen displays next. This screen is partitioned into 3 main components. The first component represents information that contains status bar for each field. This is to indicate the progress currently being made in the background on the validation execution. The second component provides checkboxes of the data validation files. An empty checkbox denotes an empty file, while a tick checkbox denotes a file that contains data that will be executed for validation and submission. The last component contains 2 customized processing options that may be chosen. Pilot test. This option generates a test for the first 1000 records in each file only. When execution is completed, this option will not implement the validation rules that require the matching of data fields across the files. If the data is validated successfully using this option, you will not be able to submit, as this is mainly for testing execution. Phased validation. This option will only execute data validation in phases. When the current running data validation is complete without any errors detected, the next phase will resume executing next. The data validation process begins. At this point, educative data validation time will be determined by the size of your data set extraction. The larger the size, the longer the validation process will take. Therefore, we advise that you remain patient until the validation process is complete. Should there be errors detected, Educative will prompt an error message indicating accordingly. Otherwise, click the log button to save and print your error report for use. Alternatively, refer to the Educative View menu item to view your error reports detected. The following are some of the other errors that could occur when conducting data validation and submission. The first example is one that of the internet connection. This occurs when there was no internet connectivity available the moment after a successful validation had occurred. The second example is when one of the mandatory SETMIS data file was not available in educative directory location when the validation was to currently commence. One would need to ensure that all mandatory data files are available in the directory location prior the validation execution. We now proceed. Educative will display a message screen asking you to confirm if you would like your data submission to be transferred to the recipient system. Click Yes button to continue. The system will further ask you to indicate if you would like to transfer your data submission to the server immediately or at a later date and time. If you opt for the latter, you will need to use the embedded electronic calendar to indicate the date as well as the time preferred. Otherwise, if you choose immediately, click Next button. Otherwise, click Close button to discontinue. Educative data validation screen displays next, requesting you to remain patient whilst the data transfer to the DHET SSH server is in progress. When the data transfer is complete, the system will display a message screen informing you that the data validation and submission to the server successfully transferred. Click OK button to remove this message screen. The system will return back to Educative Data Transfer screen. Notice that the Save Log button is now on an enabled mode. Click on this button to save your data transfer report into your preferred directory location. The Save File screen displays next. Navigate to the location you wish to save your data transfer report and click Save button. Otherwise, click Cancel button to quit saving. If you choose the Save button, you will be required to name your data transfer report. A message screen will display next, informing you that you have now successfully transferred your file. The data transfer report in Microsoft Excel format is now available to access. I will now navigate to my directory location to open the report. We have now reached the end of this demonstration. I trust that you have enjoyed this tutorial video and you are now ready to make your data validation and submission successfully. Until next time, thank you for watching.